Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast. Cause I'm the king of wishful thinking. I'll get over you. I know I will. Great song. I don't even know who that is. Is it Go West?
It's China Crisis.
Nah, it's King of Wishful Thinking. Just looking it up now. This is
Hang
pretty
on.
important.
Go
Go
West.
West. Yeah, go West. Fantastic song, King of Wishful Thinking. Listening to that over the weekend, bit of a '90s playlist. I guess that's
Early
almost
90s.
it's an '80s song, but I think it was actually released in '90. Yeah, 1990. But it's got a touch of the '80s. It's got a touch of Daryl Braithwaite in there,
A little
and
bit of electronic, that sort of like everyone's like just grooving. Like
yeah. It's a great time of film clips, great time of life. That's
great.
probably when I got my first Super
MTV was
Nintendo.
huge.
Yeah, MTV was huge. Dire Straits, MTV. So great time, just a great time of life. Anyway, talking today about King of Wishful Thinking, how you as a business owner, you can be your own worst enemy sometimes with the King of Wishful Thinking. And we're going to debunk all that. And I think just like the overarching comment that, or like the overarching sort of synopsis that there's no good putting your head in the sand. Whether it's about a site issue, about an office issue, about a staff issue. And one of the most dangerous things I see is that business owners have an incredible threshold for hope and an incredible threshold for optimism. So it's like you're like, oh, everything will be okay. When in reality, it might not be okay.
That
Now,
glass is half full.
yeah. It is actually 3/4 full. So it's because I think you do have to have like an anchor of hope. There's got to be something in you that's like everything can work out together. This bad situation can work out good. This good situation could have been better. There's got to be an element of that, like learning, adapting, chopping, changing, getting better as a business owner. So like no matter what happens, we can always do better. And if it's something bad happens, we can learn from it. But there's also the downside of that is that sometimes you've just got to confront stuff. Sometimes it won't be okay unless we dive into it. And it's like, as a business owner, the best articulation I have is you've got to have your head in the future. So you've got to be like, this is where the company's going. This is what I want to do. This is what can be better. This is the size company I want to see. This is the sort of profit I want to see. So you got to have your head in the future, but your feet in the sand. Your feet grounded in reality. So maybe this is the best sentence. What do I want to produce? Which is goals, goal settings, wishful thinking, right? This is what I want to produce and what's currently being produced, which is my feet in the sand. And what's the disconnect? And that is so interesting. Trying to get that goal setting, because goals without goal setting is just false hope, right? Like it's kind of like pissing in the wind a little bit. So anyway, king of wishful thinking. As business owners, we're all guilty of thinking that will be okay. Where's your head go to as I'm discussing?
It's straight up is, I think the optimism is a wonderful trait to have first and foremost. And I feel like most business owners inherently will have that in them because I think part of that is, I'm not going to say like a driving factor, but if you went into business and be like, I'm not going to have any work, like it's sort of not really a great start. Like it can create like that negative mindset as opposed to the positive mindset. But I think you need to also then have a look at it, righto. What's in our control? What's the pipelines look like? What's ahead of us? What's happening? You need that forward planning as well as being in the present. What's actually happening ahead of it? And when you look at the schedule, like we have no work next week, and it's like she'll be right. and then it's not all right, as in you don't have any work the following week. This is just a real like nutshell example. It's like, well, you identified this on Monday. You're now at a week later on Monday. How did we get in this situation? And it's as simple as, well, I didn't do anything about it. I just sort of prayed to the trade gods, and it turns out they're not real.
Yeah, no, well, we'll delete that. They are real. And
They're
if you like,
100%
yeah,
real.
if you light 3 candles, not 2, you might have been all right, but you only lit 2
100%.
candles.
You should have sacrificed a set of pliers. But
Yeah.
that's a side note. So if you didn't do anything about it, I think it's a little bit probably wrong of you to then assume like poor me, to be like, oh, I can't believe that happened to me, because I'm going to say probably could have predicted that. It's probably a fair assumption. So you got to have one eye on the future, and you've got to be actively doing things about it. So having that consistent conversation. So let's just say you have, I think this time of year is a really perfect example around it, because there's I've been speaking to a lot of members. It's probably in three situations. I'd say there's the people with like a heap of work, and they're looking for probably potentially more hands to help them. There's the people probably in the middle who have a fair bit of work, but they feel comfortable with what's going on, or they have a comfortable amount of work, but they're feeling a lot of pressure. So there's sort of two people in that boat generally, in that they don't feel like they can't complete what they have, but they're feeling the pressure from others. Then there's the third camp. It's like, I thought we'd have a little bit more work than we actually do. And that's the really interesting one, that one there. So I asked them, okay, cool, well, what's occurred here? And invariably speaking, the comments that you get a lot is, oh, well, we had this particular job and it's been pushed forward, as in been pushed forward into the new year. Or we had this particular job and it's gone slower than we anticipated due to the sub trades, for example, associated with it. Or we had this particular job and the client doesn't want to proceed with it before Christmas, because they have X, Y, and Z in place. They're happy to do it in the new year. And I think this is where it's really important to have the conversation. So you may sometimes get the rug pulled from underneath your feet. Now, I've been going in the industry for over 20 years. The amount of times the rug has been pulled from underneath my feet, and what I mean by that analogy, as in you get the phone call and maybe you have maximum of a week's notice of like, hey, this isn't happening. It invariably could be shorter, but anytime between 24 hours and a week's notice of like, hey, this isn't proceeding anymore, or there's been a cancellation or movement or something like that, on a scale that is significant enough to affect you, I could probably count on my two hands, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't think I'm being hyperbolic in the sense that you get a phone call every week and that's occurring. And I'm not talking about, hey, you get a phone call, it's like, hey, we're just shifting the rough-in date back a little bit, or we're moving it around here. I think that's a given to understand. Like, if you get given, hey, rough-in's due in March, for example, it's reasonable to expect that it's a window of probably 4 weeks or so, around that window.
There's just so many variables. As the weather's against you at that stage. Or it depends if it's indoor or outdoor. Sub trades against you. Productivity of like owner decision making, client decision making. Sorry, like client in terms of the principal contractor decision making. So many variables
above you, yeah. So that
Yeah.
affects you. So I think what you want to do is wrestle back control as much as you can, and this is where like touching base with your clients each week to find out what's happening. Because if you're not touching base, and touching base can be a number of things, by the way. I just want to touch on that. Touching base can be a phone call. Touching base can be attending, like driving by site and just seeing how it's going, what's occurring, and touching base as in dropping in physically and having the conversation. So I want to differentiate that. Is so like, it could be you just do a drive-by around to see what's occurring so you can paint a picture. So it helps fill you in with having the conversation. So I like to use, they're my sort of personal three. Like, so sometimes it could be, hey, just on a Saturday morning, and I know a number of people who do this because it's low pressure, low traffic, all those sorts of things. People get up early and they're like, hey, I'm just going to spin by 6 of our job sites just to see what stage they're at so that I can have that conversation with the person. Or it could be early in the morning on a day of the week. So, and what I mean by that is like, oh, hey, I can see the driveway pours prepped. Oh, I can see the roof trusses have been dropped on site. Oh, I can see the roof sheets have been delivered there. The roof trusses are up. Oh, I can see the concrete's been poured. So it's giving me a bit of an awareness. And I think I'm not sure what your experience is like, Crowe, but I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is going to be. Is that it gives the perception that you're on top of your game when you're having the conversation with your clients to be like, oh, hey, I just saw that the frame went up. I just saw that the concrete slab went down. Looks really good. So you're projecting an element of confidence within your client base to be like, oh, these guys actually know what's happening. Like they're not just waiting for us. They're being a proactive sub trade as opposed to a reactive sub trade. And this, I want to say this applies across the board. It doesn't just apply in the building game. It applies in your maintenance game as well. So like if you're dropping in to see your client to be like, oh, hey, just coming in to check on what was done recently. And it's like, hey, I'm going to say this almost happens every time. Hey, while you're here, can we just walk this level of this building? I just want to show you these items as well. So I think being aware and knowing what's coming up and essentially having your finger on the pulse as such. And I don't want you to think this takes up half your week or like the whole week. It can be staggered across. You don't have to go to every single job site or every single client every single week. It can be staggered across. So the wishful thinking part is, I think, when you, I'm not going to say drop the ball because that's too harsh a word. I feel like it occurs when you become reactive instead of being proactive.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I think it's just about like taking back control. So wishful thinking in terms of profit's a great example. You see people push, if I work really hard, it's like on The Simpsons when they dug that hole looking for that treasure, and it's like, we'll just dig our way out. So it's like, you can't dig your way out. You've got to get out of the hole. Like you, so it's so interesting. Profit's not going to change. You've got wishful thinking that you can turn it around, but without proper measuring, front costing and back costing over time, you're not going to know what you need to change in order to get better. It could be a price issue, it could be a process issue, right? The bigger the job, the more exaggerated the price discrepancies and the more exaggerated the process discrepancies. By process, I mean you can mishandle 1,000 hours much more than you can mishandle 8 hours. If you blow 8 hours out 20%, what are you going to be on then? Like 9.6? Like if you blow 1,000 hours out 20%, that's 200 hours, but potentially a really bad financial year off the back of that. So take back control of your profits this year. What we're shooting for, this is actually very interesting to talk about. When we first had to develop the pathway, you would say, it's like, what do we want to achieve? And it was a market wage, so what you could be replaced for, what you could walk 3 doors down and get a job for. Might be between 110 and 150 plus super, plus a van, plus a dual cab or some cool, sexy electric car, whatever. So something like that. Probably pretty typical for 95% of people. So it's like you could walk down and get that. And now you want a net profit of 20%. Now, net profit of 20%, I think, is a very healthy goal. And it was, I would suggest that was challenging to even set that, because some people are like, oh, what about 15%? What if I've got a 10 mil revenue? And what if I'm in solar or aircon? And I think since setting it at 20, we're seeing people get like mid 30s because everyone's just super competitive. And they're like, well, I want to beat that. And I think between 20 and 35, I really don't think you're going to get over 35 as you grow the business. You could, and that would be a fantastic, like absolutely stop traffic, excellent result. But between 20 and 35%. So it's like, that's not going to happen by accident. A lot of our members are increasing their net profit dramatically by caring. I will highlight this. It takes time. If you're behind on numbers or you've misquoted a large job, like you could be digging your way out for 2 years, for a year. So important to consistently make good decisions. So take back control of your profit, take back control of your productivity and your time. It's no point just, I think for me, so much of business, the electrical business was I'm going to say ruined's a very strong word, but ruined by my toxic optimism. by going like, I'll get those 10 quotes out in a day. Where in reality, that's probably is a week's worth of work there. But by like, even on site, we'll smash this job out in 3 days. And it's like, this is a 5-day job for 2 people. Like just optimistic, like king of wishful thinking that is not grounded in any form of feet in the sand reality. So I'll just work really hard and earn, and next year we'll turn it around financially, or like we'll smash this job out in 3 days, or and you can always feel like so far behind in office work, and a lot of the times it can be self-inflicted because it's like, well, I think I'm going to get X done in a week when in reality I'm not even going to get half of that done. So I think I'll catch up, but I won't. So then the pressure I put on my day is too heavy because I've tried to book 20 hours in an 8-hour day or 30 hours in a 10-hour day or whatever. And there's too much pressure. So now now I can't do anything. Now I can't even move because of the pressure I put on my day. And then any phone call that comes in, it might have been a good phone call. It doesn't matter. I'm so stressed and so overwhelmed and so like just what do I do, that it's taken as a negative. So that's where you got to really watch, like carefully planned owner days are so important, whether that's like, and you know what you were saying before about driving around a site, and I will say, is there anything worse than driving around a site when you're hoping a job would be ready and it's not ready? It's like when it's like, I actually physically need that job to roll into the next few months, or you're so busy and you drive past and you're like, please, like no roof on, please, please, for the love of God, like they be held up and they're not held up, and it's like, oh God,
Roof is just looking up off the roof, walking down the scaff, and you're like, "Ah."
yeah, it's so hard, it's hard. And so I just think like work out where your focus points are. It might be on site. You might have to change your wishful thinking on site. And I said that before in a 3-day, 5-day ramification of a ruffian, or you insert rewire, whatever job you've got. It might be a 3-hour, 5-hour job. That wishful thinking can have a huge ramifications on your profit, but also have huge ramifications on your product. And when I say product, what I mean is, if I've said to Cam, we're going to rough in your place next Monday because I'm going to get out of this week. And if this week that I've planned is actually 2 weeks, then guess who's behind? Cam. Like,
Me.
or if not you, someone I've booked in this week has to get pushed back. So it's like the king of wishful thinking schedule wise tries to do too much, tries to plan too much, doesn't leave any gaps, and is always letting everyone down. So it's like there needs to be hey, look, go on for Monday, it might be Thursday. Where does that sit with you? That extra phone call makes such a huge difference in your business. And I think like it's interesting because when you compare profit and product you think like, well, I did a good job for Cam. Everything's like clipped every 300 mil. Cam doesn't care. You're there a week later and he's had to reschedule his whole, like, he couldn't care less how good the on-site work is. You weren't there when you said you were going to be there, and it's affected his critical pathway. So it's like, or you've gone there once and I've clipped like 3 cables and they're super neat and the cable ties are perfect, but like no one cares because it's you're not getting the job done properly and well. So where does your head go to on that?
Well, I think I was chatting about it the other day with a member, actually, and it was to do with, I guess, the productivity side of things and like how they can get better. And he was like, I'm handcuffed to this desk. It's just like, I feel like I just haven't been able to get out of here for ages. And I'm talking like a couple of months, like this is pretty consistent. And he sort of got forced upon him by one of his tradies taking some leave, and a significant amount of leave, like more than a day, more than a week, sort of thing. So he was like, "Oh, I've just got to get out there," and he got out there, and he was like, "Oh my God, like it's just going so much smoother now." And so we had a bit of a conversation around it, and it was like, you have the ability here when you start the job. So just for reference, this particular member works in a lot of high-end residential builds and developments, really nice stuff. And his head's been in those plans for sometimes over a year. So he's fully aware of them, fully all over them. So he's immediately seen the benefit of him being on site day one and getting the, I guess, movement occurring in a really fast manner. And then in turn, instead of taking 2 weeks, it's taken 7 days, for example. And now we might look at that and be like, oh, but it's only 3 days. Like, we could have done this and that. But that's 30% more efficient than what it was originally. So by getting out there and driving it, and in turn, it's actually reduced some of the, I guess, purported or like imagined admin that sort of gets created from some inefficiencies and not being organized and all that. So we go out. So he's like, oh, that. So immediately my head goes to, right, could we be doing things smarter and in a better way to help us create a flow that then in turn helps our business? That's sort of where I go to immediately.
So interesting, because I had a chat with someone, I don't want to name them, but like
You know who you are.
they don't know who that was. Basically, they were pulling in undergrounds the other day, and with a winch, which I don't have any experience on, but basically there was three 90-degree bends on 110 mil conduit in this underground run, and he just happened to turn up to site. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he was like, first and foremost, who puts 90-degree bends underground? But in this case, it was, they let the owner do the conduits. So the owner had to get it around and back and forth. So red flag, number one. Secondly, they were trying to pull this thing in to no avail. And it was like cables that should have breezed through. I don't remember the exact size, but they should have breezed through this 110 conduit, right? So it should have been in and out in like a day, start, pack up, finish, big run, was now going to blow. So he was like, we've got to dig a pit in. This is absolutely cooked. So he was business owner on site. First thing he recognized was, why on earth is the owner getting to run these conduits and make these decisions about these 90s? Like, someone's got to stand up and be like, hey, I know you want to do that, but we need to go at least like 45s or something lower degree, or just, there's no flex in 110, right? Like, it's your best ability to or like, what do we do around that? How can we work together? So the right conversation didn't happen at the right time. So now we're in this situation. Now I've got to dig a pit in. So there's more money in there, but it's like, at least the job is started and finished within that sort of day and a half, whatever it is. When if he wasn't there, and I think that if he wasn't there, who knows what would have happened? It could have been 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. And when it's amazing, and this is why I'm not going to say I'm against estimators, but I kind of am in a way that if you outsource the quoting, first and foremost, you're paying for something. Estimating is different to takeoffs. Like when you first and foremost, you're paying for someone else's intellectual property when that might not be the reality of your company. It might be. You might work with them forever, but go with me here for a sec. When you look at plans, you can work out cable pathways. Oh, what if we deleted that cable tray? What if we get around this way? Actually, we'll do the undergrounds at this point. It's amazing what your intellectual property can do when it looks at plans and goes, oh, I don't actually need that. We can do it this way. So now all of a sudden, the client is probably filled with much more confidence because you're articulating how you're going to do the job, where you're going to save money, where you're going to save time, what stage you need to be at. So, and it's so often we can look at plans for 6 to 12 months and, back and forth and be highly aware. And what it's like in your head when you sort of wake up in the morning, you're thinking about cable pathways, especially once you looked at plans. And then the transition to site, I might send Joey to site. And Joey's like, it's the first time he's ever seen the plans. He's like, the job is done in my head. I can see the cable pathways. I can see where the board's going. I can see that bed floor is now a laundry. I can see that we need to get those lights in slab out there. That's deck work at this stage. He's like, what do you mean? So is there a better transition point to get there? Because I think too often, and I've got a list here, too often the quoting, we're wishful thinking about what we can complete, and then we let everyone down because our quotes are late. The workload, we're too optimistic about what we've got on or what we don't have on. Both ways. You're too optimistic about everything will be okay. It won't. You're actually a lot quieter than you realize. You're too optimistic about your workload. You need to hire. So it's like you need to plan this out. Your office productivity, right? Your site productivity, your time. Your time is so valuable, and you can just blow it by being too overwhelmed or too underwhelmed. Too like, I got nothing on today. Like, why? Or I talk to so many people about building in a couple of hours into their week for business on time, you want to call it. So something they could do on top of the business to make the business run better. A lot of times it's that it might be like a fault finding diagnostic. It might be, hey, on a Dakin unit on Splitty, if there's an issue, follow this pathway. Like that's going to take half an hour to sort of develop. And that's a document you're going to have forever. So if you did 2 of those a week for an hour a week, after a year, you've got 104 of these things. So don't underestimate the power of like, feet in the sand. Where are we at, and what is the disconnect between where I'm at and where I want to be? It might be goal setting for you. It might be profit for you. It might be time management. It might be site management. It might be office management. It might be hiring. It might be staff. It might be workload. It might be quoting. But where do you want to be and where are you? What's the disconnect, and how do you fill it? That's my wrap up.
No, I like that. I think it's really important to identify: are you doing things in a way that is beneficial to the business in a positive way to keep the flow of the work and keep the efficiency going? Because I think this probably needs to be highlighted, is that an inefficient, poorly organized business will be low profitable, have low profitability, sorry. It will also, in turn, more than likely have a high turnover of staff, because if you reference this to yourself, like if you turn up to a job with like a set of hand-drawn plans with no material and no idea what's going on, there's only so many times that you're like, I can deal with this. You know what I mean? And then in turn, the other one, that flip side of that, I think to be aware of, is that you're generally probably not going to get A players with A players. So you're probably going to have a lower quality of staff member, which in turn breeds this level of chaoticness that you're feeling a lot of the time. So that's probably where I land on it all. Just, are you being kind to the business to be able to put its best foot forward?
Yeah, and the wishful thinking, like it might be 3 years away, 4 years away, 6 months away, 12 months away. So important to have that high level of goal setting, but what you're delivering today matters. With when your feet are in the sand, what your company is producing is very, very important. So look after yourself, take care of what you're producing, and look after your product and profit. Peace.
Cheers.
That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.